Let me begin by saying that there are maybe three principles that you need to consider when you're talking about structural adjustments, structural transformation. The first one is political leadership. The second is the idea of growth, and a growth that has to be inclusive. And the third one is the whole idea of economic integration. And economic integration has also to have national, it has to have regional, and it has to have global perspectives. So, having said those principles, you also need to have drivers of growth. And there are very many, but I can give you a few important ones that you have seen in recent years. The first one is ICT, or interconnectedness in that way. And many countries in Africa, Kenya, Nigeria, here in Tunisia, Southern Africa, have seen the value of that. The young people are being connected, and that helps to boost productivity. And then you also have the private sector in general. The private sector is taking a very important role, and that will also be important for pushing structural transformation as we move ahead in this century. And the third one could be also infrastructure. Infrastructure of different types. Of course, I've mentioned the internet, but you can also think of airlines, rails, roads, including roads that go to the villages, the small villages all over Africa. That is also very important for structural transformation. And maybe thirdly, I will talk about governance, which I've also mentioned at the beginning. Without governance, a whole lot of talk about structural transformation will really not work, because then you have corruption, you have plans that are not met, you're not focused, you have poor institutions. So governance is another factor, among others, that's very important. Now, to close, I'd like to mention very quickly some of the strategies towards transformation. Of course, you need to have peace, and you cannot really transform without peace. In fact, if you don't have peace and you have war and so on, that will bring you back to where you started, even further. You keep falling down. So that is very important. I think it's very important that the bank itself does those things that will transform the continent. Let me mention two. One of them is PIDA. PIDA is the Program for Infrastructure Development in Africa. And this is a program, when completed in 40 years, we'll have spent $1 trillion US. It's ambitious on paper, but it's going to be very important, and it's going to be transformative. One of the projects I might mention is the plan to build the Inga Dam in the DRC. The Inga Dam is going to be 40,000 megawatts, okay, of power, and that is big. That is big, very big. It will light up the whole of Southern Africa and DRC, and that is transformative. In the private sector, the bank is also supporting the smaller companies, which are also going to be transformative. The big ones, yes, but the small ones that employ